everyone, as I was showing you my entire artificial light workflow for the Basic Food Photography Masterclass, it got me thinking about this pro tip, and that is the shoot for post-production. Most people come to post-production as an afterthought to enhance their photo, but actually post-production should be part of the plan right from the beginning. Now, do you need to plan out the post-production for every food photo that you make? No, I mean, some food photos are just that simple, but thinking about the post-production beforehand is a good state of mind to be in when you're approaching the idea for your story. For the most part, photographers are just problem solvers. You know, the client can only shoot at night, but they want their photos to look like daylight. And the pros, well, they've just gotten really good at solving the problems. Which brings us back to this lesson, because it's all about solving a problem. It actually happens all the time, and that's the problem of not having enough props or maybe even food. I mean, maybe you got hungry before you snapped a picture, or maybe one of your beautiful styled subjects happens to fall on the floor. But it's a problem that you need to solve before you put away your camera. Believe it or not, I actually spent a little time doing commercial photography back in the day where I would photograph these cheesy models in the studio and then Photoshop them into backgrounds for ad campaigns. And this is all before I took up travel and food photography. Luckily, what we're doing here today won't be that difficult, but the big takeaway from those times, the thing that I learned the most, was how to realistically combine multiple images into a single piece. And that's what we're going to be doing here today with this bruschetta. Luckily, I had all my lights and my modifiers already set up for the artificial light workflow tutorial that I was doing here today. You don't actually need to use artificial lighting. You could use natural lighting for this tutorial, but since they're already set up, all I had to do was to move my camera from the 45-degree camera angle up to the 90. Now, you don't need to use the 90-degree camera angle. 45 will do just fine. It's just a whole lot simpler at the 90-degree position. Now, the idea here is that you've run into a scenario where either you don't have enough props or you've run out of food for some reason. And one or two items, just one little piece here or there, would really help in balancing out that composition. Actually, the first time that I did this, I remember I had two perfect lemon tarts that I was going to photograph, but as I was setting up the props, I elbowed one of the lemon tarts and completely ruined it. Well, the other lemon tart wasn't going anywhere, so I just had a sit down and had to think about it, and shortly after, the solution to my problem came to me, and I'll show you what it is. Okay, so I have my strawberry bruschetta with goat cheese and balsamic sauce here. It's perfect, just how I want it, so I'll fix that, and I'll eat one here. It was good. So there, I'm missing one now. Oh darn. If I took another one from the group over here to replace the one that was on the plate that was nicely balancing out our composition, maybe they would ask, what happened? Hey, why are there two missing? That's not a problem though, because here comes the simplest solution ever. Okay, first things first, I'm gonna take a photo, but before I do that, I wanna make sure that everything is perfect. Mine is, so I'm gonna be taking a photo, but really at this point, make sure that all of your styling, your composition, your focus, the lighting, everything is ready to go and how it should be in the final image. Now to take one of these nice bruschetta that survived my attack. I'll pick it up very carefully. I don't want to touch the camera. I don't want to change the focus, the lights, nothing. The only thing I want to change is that I'll now place this bruschetta on the plate that I stole the other one from. All right, well that is it. I just need to make one more photograph right now, but it's really that simple. And this works with any prop or any food, anything that you said, gee, my photo would be so much better if I just had 2 of those or 3 of those. Well, now that we have our 2 images, it's time to move them on over into the computer and then inside of Photoshop. Okay, now that I have both of my images imported to my computer, I'm going to open them up into Photoshop, and ACR is going to open up because I shot these 2 photos in RAW. Now, I'm going to highlight both of these photos, so that way all the corrections that I do to this image will also be applied to the other image. And that will make both of the images exactly the same, so it'll look, completely realistic when I start combining the 2 photos into Photoshop. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the white balance a little bit and then brighten up the photo because it does look a tad bit underexposed. So I'm going to increase the white balance to around 4850. That'll get me closer to around normal daylight. I'm going to turn the tint down to 0. And for the exposure, I'm probably going to go up to maybe plus 30. And to the shadows, just to brighten up the shadow areas, I'll also go around to plus 30 and the blacks to around plus 60. All right, that brightened up my photo pretty good there. I'll just increase the clarity to around 20 and the vibrance to around 15. So that's pretty good for the basic color corrections. And as you can see, that has also been applied to the photo below it. All right, I'll highlight these again, and the next thing I'm going to do is actually further increase the brightness, but just on my bruschetta here. So I'm going to use my paintbrush tool, and that'll allow me to selectively brighten certain areas of my photo. And I'll increase this to around 0.80. Oops, grab my brush again. And now I'll just brighten up the bruschetta on this cutting board over here. There we go. That looks good. And also probably on the plate as well. Okay, now I'll move over to this photo and I'm going to brighten up the cutting board again. All right, that looks nice. And the plate as well. There we go. Okay, now the correction looks pretty much the same on both of those photos. And so I'm going to highlight them again and now open both of them into Photoshop. All right, after that, it's pretty much done. There's only a few more steps to do, and these images will be combined, and nobody will be the wiser that there was actually 2 different images. So once they open up to Photoshop here, the first thing I'm going to do is grab my Move tool, press V on the keyboard, and I'm going to select this first photo and just drag it and place it directly on top of the other. By pressing Shift and then letting go of the mouse, it'll position it directly above the other, and you can see now that I have 2 layers. And if I turn this layer off, you can see the only thing that changes is the location of that one bruschetta. All right, so I'm actually going to open up both of these layers, and I'm going to click on this bottom layer and drag it to the top of the stack. That way they're in the order that I want them to be in. And then I'm going to go down to my panel here, down to the to the mask icon. I'm going to click on that and add a mask to this layer. Now you might remember how to work with masks if you've taken some other post-production lessons in my course. So I'm going to select the brush tool, press B on my keyboard. I'm going to make sure that I have my black paint selected and that my opacity is at 100%. Now I can increase this brush size a little bit, and I'm going to want to use a soft brush. That way it blends in nicely with the background. I'm just going to brush in this bruschetta on the plate here. And so I'll just start painting, and that bruschetta will magically appear underneath that photo. And there we go. Both of the bruschetta now are on that same plate, and nobody is the wiser. Nobody could tell that this bruschetta is actually this one located over here on the cutting board, because I took that one, I twisted it a little bit, photographed it again, and now they're combined both to the same image inside of Photoshop. It's such a great little tip. All right, that's it. I am done in Photoshop. I can close out this photo. I could save this one as my new image with both of those photos combined. Well, that is that. I mean, maybe you don't have enough props. Maybe your client could only make one dish, or maybe somebody ate your perfectly styled dessert while you were changing the lights. I mean, no problem though, because now you can do your food photography for post-production.